I don't know. There's a lot of gold in here. Well, it is called the gold palette, so that makes sense. I'm an idiot sometimes when it comes to this stuff. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have not filmed in about a week, maybe 10 days, and the reason for that I will get to. So this will be kind of a little chatty kind of video. Before I get started, I do want to thank you for joining me, and if you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe. I do upload at least once a week. I like to do a little bit more, but lately I have been in the throes of some creative endeavors, and so I have not been filming or uploading quite like I want to. I'm hoping that will change. Today is the day I am going to do some filming, and this is going to be part of my makeup rediscovery series. So today I am going to be using the Natasha Denona Gold Palette, and this is a palette that I've had for quite a while, but I have barely used it, and I'm pretty sure I haven't even used all the colors. Maybe I've swatched them all, but that's what it looks like. So it's real pretty, sort of. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what possessed me to buy this palette, because this is full of like gold shimmer shades, which are probably my like least favorite kind of shades. I'm sure I had a good reason when I bought this, for why I wanted it, but it's been long enough now that I don't remember what the reasons were. In addition to that, I am going to be doing a kind of like a little mini review of the Morphe Filter Effect Soft Focus Foundation. This is medium to full coverage. I picked up a couple of these a couple of weeks ago, and I've kind of been playing with them, although like I say, I've been doing some creative stuff, so I haven't been wearing makeup as much as I normally do. But at any rate, I picked up light 4 and light 3, and I think I'm going to go in with light 3 today. Light 4 is a little bit more yellow, and while yellow is really good for canceling out redness and stuff, which I kind of like, if I'm not careful, you can really tell that there is like a yellow undertone on my face versus on my body. So generally speaking, I'm kind of pinkish, and so I tend to like a very neutral, even olivey kind of foundation. But anyway, I'm gonna tell you what I've discovered in trying this a few times now. And the trick that I have found, it's not really a trick, but the thing that I have found that makes this foundation okay. So spoiler alert, I'm not in love with this foundation. I don't hate it. It's reasonably priced, so that's always a good thing. But at any rate, I'm gonna scoot in. We're gonna get right into the eye look, whatever I decide to do. And yeah, let's go ahead and get going. All right, so I have my eyes primed already, and I do want to use this really pretty dark green in here called, what is this called? Python. I do like the sort of mustardy color in this as well. So I think I'm going to go in with that color first. That is the color Dijon. We're going to go ahead and put that in the crease here. So like I mentioned, I have been in the throes of creative stuff for the last week. A week ago Saturday, today is the 9th of March, so on the, let's see, what would that be, like the 28th or something of February, I went into my local shop that sells sewing machines and vacuums and that kind of thing. And I have been thinking about this for some time, but I decided that I wanted to purchase a long arm machine. If you don't know what all this stuff is, that's okay. It's not that long of a story. But I decided I wanted to purchase a long arm sewing machine for my quilting, so I can do all of my piecing on my domestic machine, my regular domestic machine, but I was finding the actual quilting of the projects kind of a challenge on my domestic machine, because I've been making quilts to fit my bed. So I have a queen size bed. And let me just tell you that it is a challenge to fit all of that fabric and batting and everything else into the throat of a regular domestic machine. So this is something I've been contemplating for a while, and I decided I was going to get one. So I ordered this on Saturday, and I said, do you have any idea when it will be in? And she said, well, we should have the machine in the warehouse, but the table might take longer because I bought a table to go with it. And I'm like, okay. She said, so about, probably 10 days, 2 weeks. And I'm like, that's perfect, because I wanted to rearrange my studio, which is half like painting materials and like book arts and collage, that kind of thing. And then the other half of it is dedicated to sewing and other kind of textile arts. So I wanted to rearrange things, to make room for this table, which turned out to be a beast of a thing to get out of my car and into my house and so on. That was a struggle. But we managed, my husband and I managed, and got it all set up and everything on Tuesday, so a week ago. And I tell you, it about killed me to not be able to like go play with my new machine. But I was like, no, I want to fix up my studio and arrange it the way that I want it to be. And I don't want to put that off. And it's very easy to put something like that off, especially if you have a new toy that you want to play with, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be, an artistic kind of thing or anything like that. It really doesn't. But I thought I don't want to get into that before I finish this thing that I had just barely started when I ordered my machine. I thought I would have, 10 days, 2 weeks to work on my studio. Well, that didn't happen. They called me Monday, so 2 days later, and said, your machine and table are in. And I was like, what? I was floored. But of course I went and picked it up, because, you don't order something like that and not go pick it up. I went and picked it up, and so I'm going to pick up the color called Python, and I'm going to put that on this outer corner here. So at any rate, I went ahead and picked it up, and we put it together, and then I continued to work on my studio, which was a huge project because I hadn't done anything with it for so long. And it's just been in recent months that I've even felt like going back into my studio and trying to do something reasonably creative. So I spent all of last week on my studio, working on my studio, moving big pieces of furniture around and just kind of switching things up for a little bit of a fresher feel to it, if that makes sense. I finished that a couple of days ago, on Sunday, and so of course I dove right in and got going on a couple of quilting projects that I had already started on my domestic but wanted to move over to my long arm. So my story is that I have been busy in my studio, and my hope is that I'm just kind of blending these edges a little bit here, and I will probably go back and add in a little bit more. My story for not filming then is that I've been in the middle of doing that kind of stuff, so a little bit more creative stuff. And if you are a creative person yourself, then you know that it can be difficult to divide your attention between, something that's more practical, for lack of a better word, and something that is, the thing that you actually really want to be working on. But I, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm not going to try to work in this giant mess that I have here and not have things where I want them and so on and so forth. So that's my story. That's what I've been doing for the last week or week and a half, and I'm thrilled with my new machine. Um, I've been trying to decide how or even if I want to work in some of my creative artistic pursuits into my channel, and I haven't quite figured out how to do it because I know I don't know. I think I think that there are probably maybe not that many people that are into things like I am, makeup and clothes and shoes, jewelry, all that, you know, girly stuff, if for lack of a better word. And not that only girls get to wear that stuff, because everybody can wear whatever they want. I personally don't care. But I don't think that there are that many people that are into that and into things like quilting, because probably a lot of people, and I'm assuming a lot here, but I can imagine a lot of people going, "Oh, quilting, that's for old ladies or whatever." Well, it's not, of course. It's for whoever wants to do it. Um, Man, woman, young, old, whatever your thing is, that's if you want to do something like quilting, like painting, like any of that stuff, then I encourage you to do so. Our time on this earth is limited, and it's too limited to not pursue the things that bring you happiness. Not that sewing and painting and all of those kinds of creative endeavors that I do bring me endless joy and satisfaction and stuff. No, it can be a huge pain in the ass. Huge pain in the ass. It's just one of those things that I've always considered myself being artistic and stuff. And I vacillate, or I go through phases where I don't do anything artistic for months and even years in the past. And I want to let that go. I want to change that. So, what do we think so far? This is, you know, this is pretty, but I have the Metropolis palette, and I actually like it better because it has more colors that I like. This is a very, very neutral palette with like a pop of green, and it's not that it's not pretty. It absolutely is. And if you like more neutral stuff, then, by all means, check this one out. But these palettes are expensive, so this is one of those things that I have a little bit of buyer's remorse about. So I'm blending out that edge with the color Sandstone. And it is a bit like Dijon, but it's a little bit lighter. So I just wanted to go back in and enhance that sort of warm mustardy brown color right there at the edges. So I'm going to take that same brush that I used for the dark green and try to clean it off a little bit. That's very pretty. That is the color Aurora. But then there's also this one that's called Lime Chrome. That's also pretty. That's more yellow. I could do something really bright gold. These are just not my, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking when I bought this palette. It doesn't have anything to do with the eyeshadows themselves. They are perfectly fine. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of gold in here. Well, it is called the gold palette, so, that makes sense. I'm an idiot sometimes when it comes to this stuff. I'm going to go into the color Aurora, I think, even though I feel like I should use one of the gold shades in here. I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it, people. So I'm going to pick that up on my brush and I'm going to give it a little spray because this is quite a glittery color. And let's see what we can do here. All right, well that's all right. I think I'm going to take the color Arum, which is one of the gold shades, and I'm just going to put that, I've got a little tiny brush here, and I'm just going to try to put that right in the center here. So I'm doing a bit of a, kind of a halo situation. Just going to take that first brush and kind of tap over the edges of it a little bit, make sure it's reasonably blended. This palette it's not that it's not pretty, but it lacks the variety that the Metropolis palette has. So if you've been thinking about either of these palettes, and I think they are both still available, I will of course list them down below so that you can find them easy. The Metropolis palette has more variety, more colors, but it's still a very gold green type of palette. So if you're, if that's what you're looking for, if you're into that, then I personally would recommend that one over this one. I think this would make a really pretty, like a brown gold kind of, because there's this nice dark brown and bronzy color. So I mean, it would be a very pretty sort of neutral chocolatey kind of look if you wanted to do something like that. That would be really nice. And that brown is a really good brown. It looks lighter in the palette, in my opinion, than it does, at least on my fingers. Should I put a little bit of that on the outside edge there, just for fun, just to see if I can deepen that up? Let's do that. Yeah, see, that helps deepen that up. Of course, it takes away a little bit of the greenness here, but that's okay. That Aurora color is very, very glittery, so I am getting a little bit of sparkle on my face, which I don't love, but I'm not going to have a meltdown about it either. Let me go ahead and do my foundation, and then I will put the rest of my makeup on, and we'll come back and kind of reassess things. But for now, I'm going to take a couple pumps of the Morphe. And the thing that I have found that really helps me like this better on my skin, and I have normal to dry skin, is adding a couple of drops of facial oil, into my foundation before I put it on my face. And today I'm using the Farsali Rose Gold Elixir. It's fine. Use whatever kind of facial oil you have and you like, assuming that you have one and like one. But I find that this is beneficial to this because if I just put this on like straight away, it looks a little, I thought it was supposed to be like a really hydrating foundation, but I feel like it really looks kind of dry, and will definitely stick to dry places on my skin if I'm not careful. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see how light that looks, right? So I don't love the colors that I picked, but this one is better than the other one, and adding the oil allows me to sort of sheer it out a little bit, and that's nice. I like that. So that makes it definitely more of a medium coverage type of foundation. Now I think if you have relatively oily skin, you're probably going to like this better than I do. So like I say, this is not my favorite foundation ever, by no stretch of the imagination, and I may take back the one color that I got that I just don't like. We'll see. I'm usually too lazy to do that, especially for something that only costs what this costs, which is like, I don't know, $15, $18. So it's not free, so I'm going to bring this down my neck a little bit just to cover up the redness that I get under my chin and stuff. And I will be going over this with a sponge here in a little bit. Now you can see I have my little friend here. Change your pillowcases, folks. Even if you don't change your sheets, like all of your sheets every, whatever insane day or whatever insane amount they tell you to do, like every 3 days or some shit like that. Nobody's going to change their sheets every 3 days. Well, I'm not anyway. But it does benefit you to change your pillowcases, especially if you don't wash your hair every day and or wear a fair amount of product in your hair. Because that ends up on your face and then you get little party crashers like this. So, serves me right. Serves me right. So, I expected this foundation to be much more glowy, I guess, than it is. I think it's just a little bit difficult to work with. I feel like it can look really patchy, and that really shows if your foundation is not a good match for your skin, which this is not the best match. And so if I don't blend something well enough or miss a place or whatever, it's super obvious, and ideally that's not what you want no matter what foundation you're using. So the match is probably as important or maybe more important than any other aspect of your foundation, in my opinion, because you can get away with a lot if your foundation matches your skin exactly, or as exact as we can get it. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge. I don't give a shit who you are, what color your skin is. Finding foundation that is an exact match it's hard. It's difficult. It's harder for some than others. And I'm lucky in that I usually at least have a few that I can choose from. So I appreciate that. That's for damn sure. Okay, so that's what it looks like. You can see that it does not cover up everything. And that's okay. I don't need a foundation to cover up every single little whatever on my face. I don't need that. This foundation is okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't think you need to run out and purchase it or anything. I'm continue to be frustrated that we can't try things in store, like just to match shades. I just think I don't know. I have no problem at Sephora. They will, do the largest part of it for you, and that's fine. At least you can match. And at Ulta, it's just not like that. They've got everything taped down within an inch of its life, and I'm just like, I think we can move to the point where we ask for the employees to help us find a shade, especially for foundation. It's too expensive. It's too hard to find, what you like and the coverage that you need and all those things, to have to waste your time taking things back, or worse, spending your money on things that aren't right for you. This is very matte. I think it's very matte. It's very matte on me, and I put 2 drops of oil in my mixture. And so, I don't like that. I expected it to be, I don't know what I expected exactly. I probably should have read about it a little bit more than I did. But, you know, I didn't, so I'm going to put a little concealer on here, and I'm going to put a little bit on this little beast. Go ahead and blend that out. This is not like the ideal concealer with this foundation. It's a little dark for this foundation. My foundation's a little light for me, so it's not bad though. It's not nearly as alarming now that I've got it blended out as it was when I first swiped it on my face. I'm not going to set this because this feels already plenty like dry without adding a powder or anything like that on top. I am, however, going to set my under eyes because I almost always set my under eyes. And if I don't, I end up with mascara transfer and smudging and stuff under my eyes. So just a little bit of my NARS crystal powder under my eyes just to set that. I'm going to go finish up the rest of my makeup, and I will come back and we'll kind of discuss some final thoughts on the makeup rediscovery aspect of this video, as well as this new foundation from Morphe. I will be right back, guys. Alright guys, I am back and I've got the rest of my makeup on. I will list everything down below that I put on my face. But just to briefly go over the two things that I used today that were a little bit different. The Natasha Denona Gold Palette, personally, if I had it to do over, I would just skip it and stick with the Metropolis palette. I bought that before I bought the Metropolis palette, so that's why I have both of them. But if I was to do it now, I would just skip the gold palette, buy the Metropolis, because there are some, if you like gold eyeshadows, shimmery eyeshadows and stuff, there are some really pretty ones in that palette. And you have more greens, more blues, you just have more colors in general. For the foundation, I've worn this a few times now, and you know, it's far from my favorite foundation. And again, if I had it to do over again, I probably wouldn't pick either of these up. I never like saying something is shit, you know what I mean? It's like, because it's not good for me doesn't mean that it won't be good for you. If you have oily skin, I think that this would be an okay foundation for you. One thing that it does that I don't like is it clings to any kind of dryness or anything like that. So even though I always moisturize really well and that kind of thing, and I put oil in this and everything, it still clings to the, and I know you know what I'm talking about, clings to like the edges of anything that's healing, like any kind of blemish, which is why I hesitate to say if you have oily skin or acne prone skin, or you're dealing with, you know, a lot of breakouts, and certainly if you have anything like cystic acne or anything like that, this would probably not work for you, because it just ends up highlighting all of that dryness, all of those edges, and it's just, it's not a good look, and I personally don't like it when foundations do that. And I have enough foundations that don't do that to know and be able to pretty safely say that the Morphe foundation is probably one that you can skip. I will probably continue to play with this a little bit, just maybe mix it with some things at some point and see if I can save it. But I'm not going to spend a lot more time messing with it, because that's just not what I do. I have things that I like better, that look better on my skin, that are a better color match. And even though the price is good, it's not good if it doesn't look good. And so I'm gonna leave it there, because I'm a little disappointed, because I'd never bought any Morphe foundation before, and I thought maybe this is the one that will work for me. Because the other ones I think were quite full coverage, and that's not really my thing. but yeah, it just didn't work out for me. So I think I'm gonna leave it there for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like this kind of content, if you like seeing a little bit more dramatic and colorful looks on somebody that's a little bit more mature. I encourage you to subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you are notified every time I upload a new video. And until my next video, bye guys.